told her to, because you gave that positive, you can do it vibe. And I think that has really helped me, like make me feel I have to become a better person.
Hi guys, welcome to Bigger Than a Hustle podcast. A super interesting conversation with entrepreneurs about life outside business. Now, today's guest, I have had a long time of life with her. She used to have a hairdressing salon down the road from me and my current business as well. So we've known each other a long time. She's my personal hairdresser as well. So guys, if you do need a good haircut, I've not had one for a while. So I'll be booked in with her when lockdown finishes. But I'm going to introduce her. Her name is Hina, and a business called Hair Solutions. So just wanted her to introduce in her own words who she is and what she's about.
Hi, my name's Hina. Like Bobby said, I've had a business now for 18 years. Long journey. I started very young, so hopefully anything that I can say is going to help you today.
Perfect. Okay, so just going back to the early days, right? So like you said, 18 years ago, so that you were young, right? And even now you see life in a different perspective to then. And then really, you'll probably agree with me, we didn't know anything about life really. We were just starting out, right? So a lot of society would believe that you being Indian, you being a female, has already put two hurdles in front of you for you to be a success and for you to walk the path that you've walked already, to set up on your own, and to sort of really go out and still be around. A lot of small businesses finish within 3 or 4 years, but for you to be here still 18 years on, that's hats off to you. So what do you think from those early days gave you the belief that you could do this?
I think from a very, very young age, I've always known in my heart of everything that I wanted to have my own business. I was very lucky from a young age that I had the passion of actually loving hair. Did a lot to my own hair as a child. Got my mum to do a lot of stuff for me as a child. All the little plaits and everything potentially that I could have possibly made her do. She did it for me. But it really did give me the passion. I think that grew in me from a very young age, which grew as I got into my teens and made me really feel that this is where I want to be. I want to have my own business and I want to do what I do love. And I love hairdressing. So that was quite easy for me from a young age to think this is not knowing anything about business, but I knew as much as I could at the time about hair. So getting the business was second nature, I guess. The first nature was the whole hairdressing part, and then everything else kind of came with it. I learned along the way, and a lot of learning from that young age to now. If I was to start it now, it'd be a different business. For sure.
And so a little bit you went into there. So obviously working with your mom and she's helping with your hair and stuff. But just moving it out of your bedroom into the real world. Do you know what I mean? That's a huge step. Just to say, I like doing hair. Now I actually want to set this up. So was there anyone around you, or was there anything that sort of triggered you rather than you just going to work at a hairdresser and then just having a job? What was the difference in your mindset from the people that just go out and get a job as a hairdresser to you saying, actually, you know what, I think I can do this on my own?
I think again from a very young age, my parents had an off-licence shop, so I was brought up with that kind of in the background. I was very young when they got rid of the shop, but it was kind of from birth to about 6 or 7, I think I was. But always knowing that my parents worked really hard within business life, and they had full-time jobs because my dad had a business partner, so it was juggled between him and his business partner. But always having that in the background, I always knew that whatever I wanted to do what my parents did, and that was to have their own business. So I think that kind of was a seed that got planted in me at a very, very young age. And I think taking it from the stage of learning hairdressing, I did a job in a salon for about 3 months in the city centre. Hard to get into anyway, but when I did do it, I at that point definitely realised that I didn't want to work for anybody. And I was very, very fortunate. That was at the age of 18, 19 that I actually got that feeling in me that I definitely didn't want to work for somebody else. So no matter what I had planned for the future, that the business had to be a part of that plan. So it didn't make any difference, you know, exactly, it didn't matter how many sacrifices I would have to take or what age I would have started that at, but I always knew that at the end of the day, that is what I'm going to do, for sure. Yeah.
So, what comes through sort of from the words and your journey is a little thing called belief, you know, self belief. And it seems like you having your parents that obviously had their own business already gave you an insight into this is possible. And secondly, it's the belief that, you know what, I know I have enough in me, and whether I know enough right now, just that little bit is enough to get me started, just to get me off the, you know, just to give me a nudge, and then let's see how it works. So that's what I'm hearing from you. So, from you know, if you're giving your input to younger people that may be sort of thinking about things now and thinking maybe I'm not sure, can I do this or not? What sort of advice would you give them if they're starting out on the entrepreneurial journey?
The biggest thing is believe, I think. Believe in yourself. Definitely know and have it set in your mind that this is definitely what I want to do, and don't give up on it. That is the biggest thing I would tell young people, because I think it is so easy to get sidetracked nowadays. There's so much out there that you can get sidetracked with and take the same journey that you want to go on in a different direction. But I think if you really, if it is business that you want to do, and that's kind of what your heart is set at that, and you have a passion for, I think it's the product that you're going to sell, you have to believe in that product. And I think that's the biggest thing, is if you don't believe in your product, I believe in myself as a hairdresser. So the business was never going to fail. So I'm still here 18 years, thank God, you know, knock on wood, I'm still here. But I think it's believing in your product 100%. Don't ever doubt yourself, for sure. Yeah.
Cool. And another thing that sort of surrounds a lot of people these days, you know, in terms of society and information, is there's so much negativity in terms of fear about not stepping out your comfort zone, not, you know, treading your own path, believing in yourself. You know, there's so much information around you. There may be people around you. There's social media. There's the news. There's, you know, other stuff on the internet, and even people around you that will keep pushing you back and keep pushing you into the box of fear. What would you say for people trying to drown out that noise so then they can just hear the noise that they need to pull them in the direction of their goal, you know, the direction that the universe needs them to see, whatever that is?
I think definitely surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded, because I think the people that you hang out with, you kind of conversate with every single day, are always going to keep feeding you, whether it's the slightest little thing that they say in the day, or whether it's a big conversation that you can end up having with people and go in deeper with these conversations. But I think 100% you need to surround yourself with people that are like-minded, for sure. Because I think there's only one way down if you hang around with people that have got that negativity. You're going to spiral down that negative road. So be definitely positive people.
And I'm sure, you know, looking back at your younger days, even looking back at my younger days, I was surrounded by a lot of people that maybe didn't serve my purpose and didn't help me move on my path. Maybe they wanted to keep me in the lane that I was in, which helped them with their life, because everyone sort of was equal. And when you try and pull out of that, sometimes some people will try and pull you back and will try and pull you down. And then you have to question whether these people are right in your life, because if they're doing that now, you know, what's going to happen as you go on. And it's having that interest, having that belief in yourself to say, actually, do you know what, I'll be fine no matter what. And then it's actually picking out the people, because I think, like you said, the saying is you're a product of the people you surround yourself, right? And the conversations you have with those people are either going to support you or they're going to pull you down. And it's so true that even if you have no one in your life that's, you know, supporting you or pushing you through, find those people. It's so much easier to find people, like-minded people everywhere around you. You just have to see them. You have to tell your brain that this is what I want to find, this is what I want to see. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I think like also it's being able to be strong enough to say, actually, this person isn't good for me. And you don't want to get rid of this person in your life because you know they're still a great friend and you had great memories with this person, but there's certain aspects of your life you will welcome them into, and then the rest you won't, because you're just like, well, this person isn't great for me, but certain aspects of my life and these people are good. So then you yourself, I think, have to learn to have a filter and just have people at one side of the filter or the other side of the filter. But I think that has to come from within the person, you yourself. You've got to be able to recognize that, I think.
Cool. Okay, so let's move on to you today. Like I said, I've seen you grow and I've seen you become, you know, the lady you are today. And one thing I've always noticed and one thing I've always seen and admired from afar is that you have this ability to have a single focus when you need it. And what I mean by that is it's head down, let's get this shit done.
Yeah,
And if that means I go into dark, I lock myself away and just work on whatever I need to work on, whether that's myself, whether that's my business, whether that's the people around me, or whether it's there's some growth in you that you need to happen, it's going to happen because that single-minded focus allows you to then just drown out everything around you to say, you know, this needs to happen. It's like when you set up your salon at home, you know, that was a huge move for you, right?
yeah,
A big
yeah.
investment, moving out of a place where you'd been for years,
Um,
well, from the start, right?
yeah,
um, and then to set that up, invest a lot of money, and knew that you were moving completely in a different area. So people were going to follow you, were going to follow you. The people that weren't. And again, having confidence to say, actually, you know what, there might be a bit of a drop off, but I know I can pick that up again because I've got faith in myself, right? So
yeah.
where do you think that drive comes from? That sort of inner focus to say, you know what, this shit just has to happen, and I, one way or another, I'll just make it happen, whatever it is.
I think it's a lot to do with your mindset. I think the mindset of it's like people write down their to-do list, for example. And for me, if it's on my to-do list, I'm going to get it done. There's nothing goes on the to-do list that I'm just going to an hour about. There's never going to be a, oh, maybe I'll cook this tonight. If it's on the list, it's getting cooked tonight. And it's the same thing with anything for me, I think, in life. So the business, moving it home, was definitely one of my biggest risks I think I've ever taken. But 100%, it has been the best risk. And I think it's purely went on the to-do list. I think at the time we wanted to do it wouldn't have been until at least 2021. And I got it done by the end of 2019. No,
Right. Yeah.
2018. End of 2018. 2019 was my first full year at home. And we're in 2020 now. So I'm about 2 years ahead of what that plan was. But it was because at the time I think I asked myself, what am I waiting for? And I realized, actually, what am I waiting for? Nothing. So let's get the plan in, let's get it done. You know, decided to do it in March. By December, it was done. By January, it started working from home. So I think it's that, again, focus, making sure that you know exactly what you want to do and get it done.
And I think it's such a beautiful space now that you have. I think it's sort of it's an embodiment of you now. You know, your space you were in probably was embodiment of you then,
No,
where you know you were just starting, you weren't sure, and I think it just keeps you there. And then when you move out and when you've got a bit of experience under your belt, this now shows this. You know, it shows you without anyone, without even someone knowing you, you say, come to my salon and see. As soon as you walk in, you're like, this is nice. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And that shows, I think, the respect you have for yourself and your own belief in yourself, but also the trust you have in your own ability to say, you know what, this is me. Now I feel 100% this is me, and I feel confident to invite people here, and I feel confident in my work. So this now is, you know, an element of me that works. So, you know, congratulations on that. I think you've done a huge move. And I think even when we did some work with you, and when I put pictures up on our social media through the work,
yeah,
so many people have asked me, you know, it's such a nice job that you've done.
yeah,
And you've not cut corners, because I know
yeah.
with the Indian mentality can be to cut
Oh, yeah.
corners, right?
It's very Indian when it comes to corner.
Yeah. And I'm sure when you told your parents said things, I'm like, why are you doing that? Why didn't you just do this?
Yeah. What
But
my parents learned a long time ago, don't ask me questions.
yeah.
Do something, I've already thought about it.
Yeah. Just either help me or shut up.
Yeah.
That's it.
Be my support. They always are, always to be my pillars, but just, yeah, don't ask questions if you don't want to hear the answer.
But then, you know, coming back to parents, don't you think they've given you the foundation for you to live your life the way you want it?
Yeah, 100%. The influences that my parents have given me, they've always told me not to be a sheep. You know, I haven't always gone down the typical route of A levels and university because I didn't do either one. But I'd say I'm very different to the rest of my peers because I actually took the plunge, and I think that comes from my parents. I mean, I was so young; that influence couldn't have come from anywhere else. Growing up, I was thrown into it. I think from a very young age, and I threw myself into it. I wasn't thrown in; I threw myself in. But that definitely comes from even people like yourself, your sister, your brother. I grew up. I was quite young when I met you all,
Yeah,
so
100%. Yeah.
I grew up making my mistakes and learning because I had all you guys to kind of help me through the journey.
And I think we were all just trying to work it out at that stage anyway. So,
I think
so
we're still figuring it out.
we're still working. You know what?
Things in life.
I think I always want to be working out, because what's the point? For me, life just would get really boring if you knew everything,
Boring,
right?
not learning, right? Yeah.
100%. And there's nowhere to grow then. If you've already outgrown, what's there left?
Exactly.
So what do you think, what do you think the biggest lessons your mom and dad taught you, looking back now?
um, Biggest lessons I think growing up was hard work. I think don't be scared of doing any sort of hard work. Don't be scared of getting your hands dirty. I'm no better than anybody else, so I will still sweep my own salon floor. So in that mentality has come from like seeing my dad today doing the dishes. He's no better than my mum. I don't think in that sense. He thinks that finally, where yeah, I could do the dishes too. I can
Yeah.
do the sweep up too. But I think it's that mentality from a very young age of you can do anything. So no job is too small or too big, and we're all the same at the end of the day. So I think never putting yourself on a pedestal has been one of my dad's biggest, because he's I would say the most humblest person I've ever met or know. And I think that really has taught me no job is too small.
So like talking about your parents, whether it is your parents or someone else, who do you think was the most influential in your life growing up?
I think the influential has been my grandma.
Yeah.
I was born till when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And I think she's the most influential. I was very young, so I didn't know, at this age, I don't know, I can only know from what my parents tell me and what my dad tells me about his mum. But he tells me things that really, really sit well with me, thinking, I always think, that's me. I've got that strength, I've got that temper, or whatever it is, I get it definitely from, so I think my grandma, although she was only part of my life, a very, very small part of my life, I think she's the most influential, for sure.
And similar, just exactly what you said, it's similar to myself in terms of grandparents. I grew up with my grandparents, so when I started school I could only speak Gujarati because I used to grow up, spend so much time with my ba. Now, if that foundation of having my grandparents and my parents and my brother and sister and my family around me, I think gave me a real strong foundation to let me just go out and be who I am, with all my flaws and all my, all the mistakes and all the things I did. I think they all allowed me to be who I am, and that allowed me to open my business, because so many people would have pulled me down, but my dad was always, my dad,
Yeah.
and he's always been the first to say, you know what,
Go
if
and do
someone
it.
if someone else can do it, why can't you? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's always stuck with me, because it's so true. Someone
Yeah.
else, we might not have the same knowledge, we might have no experience, but we're just people, and
Yeah. And we
we can't.
can learn and adapt, and we can adjust, and yeah.
Yeah, of course. So what, flipping it to today, what do you think is missing in your life right now?
I don't think there's anything missing at the moment. I know definitely what I want for my future is to start a family. So I could say that's the only thing that's really missing, but I feel absolutely content in my work-life balance. Started working from home, so I get a better balance with my home life. My husband's a lot happier because dinner pretty much is ready now for when he comes home, and he doesn't have to do the prep work. So he definitely is a lot happier. But I am definitely, I would say, even me myself, I'm a lot happier and totally content today. But
And
definitely fun for the
okay,
future.
perfect. And then there's something you just put, you said something you said there. So, Kishan's happier that you're at home, and then, so he doesn't have to do the prep and stuff like that. So where do you think that role came from, when you got married? Why was it that it became that you were the one cooking, for example, and just like many roles in.
I don't think, first of all, from when I got married, it's been 4 years, and I've spent most of that time working away from home. So I don't think it was either that he would cook or I would cook. I've always had this in my head, and that's something I told him when we were dating. I think it's really important for when you're dating someone, is we're both equal. And I work, you work, you know, I go out and do a job, I actually work more hours than he does. But still, I would probably still do most of the lady jobs, let's say. But he definitely, he's definitely not got the mentality to think, oh, it's a woman's job and you should do all the cooking. So he actually is a very good cook. He's just a bit lazy.
And knowing you, I'm sure if he did have that attitude, you won't be long together long anyway, right?
We were not.
So you know, like moving into relationships, so if there's people listening to this that are in a relationship, that are sort of like girlfriend, boyfriend, or they're dating, and they want to tread down the, you know, the path of marriage, what kind of conversation do you think they should be having before they decide this?
I think any conversation that they're having has to be honest. You can fake it for as long as you think you can fake it, but marriage is for a lifetime. You can't keep faking it for a lifetime. So I would definitely say honesty at the start is going to be the foundation of your relationship. And then, you know, all the other, you know, like, oh, hobbies and stuff like that, things you have in common. I think all these things are definitely important. But I think, an example of me and my husband, we're two very different people. I'm very, I would say, Hollywood, and he is very Bollywood. So we're very, this is how I explain it. He just explain it to people. Like, I'm very, like, prefer the English movies, and so does he. But he also likes to dabble in Bollywood stuff, which I don't so much. But I think, like, being able to jump on board to each other's really does help. And I think having that adaptingness to your relationship and not just think, oh, well, it's my way or the highway, that is not going to work. So I would definitely, conversations you need to be having at the start are, you know, making sure the person is willing to even just, you know, put one toe in the pool with you, because that's all you need. And then they might like it. I don't.
Or then again, not.
Yeah.
And you know, for example, like I've got two kids, you know, both of them, and Kaya's just turned 14. Now, the conversation hears from us is marriage to us, it's not important. So what I mean by that is it's important to be with someone that will lift you up, that you'll be surrounded by, and will give you conversation that make you a better version of yourself. And without them, maybe something will be missing. Not, I would never say I have another half, because I'm whole as it is. I have another whole person next to me that we then augment and we become even better together, right? And you know, I see a lot of relationships where they drain each other, you know, and maybe maybe they've been together, maybe they don't know anything else, maybe they don't have the confidence to see anything else, and that really sort of like it upsets me a little bit, because it's like, you know, you spend your time and this is your future and this is your growth and this is the person you probably spend the most time with and the most conversations you have with, and they're the ones that will probably lift you up when you're in a dark hole, or they're the ones that you pull up when they're on down, or when you're together you're smiling, you're happy, and you'll just sit and you don't need to talk. Do you know what I mean? And it's all those things, and I know that doesn't happen at the start, I know that doesn't happen straight away, especially when you're young, you don't know yourself enough. But as you know, as time goes on, maybe, you know, I got married.
As you grow, you have to grow together.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And maybe don't give up so easily either. Sometimes, you know, just fight for it, because it's worth fighting for. And if it's not, you'll see it's not worth.
I always say, a saying that I've always said, it's easier to change yourself than to change somebody else. So I think the relationship is one of the biggest things I think that I've learned. Getting married a little bit older, you get set in your ways. So it's easier than to start trying to change yourself a little bit to make sure that that person is sitting next to you and not falling. It's really important to try and understand changing yourself rather than trying to change somebody else.
And I think that, you know, a lot of my cousins now, they're sort of 30 plus now, and they're just thinking about maybe they should settle down. And I like that, because you know yourself so much more as you get older, you know. I got married at 27, and maybe even looking back, maybe that was a little bit young. Do you know what I mean? But and we've been through a lot, and there's so much learning that we've done. We've just become comfortable probably with each other, but over the last 3 or 4 years. Up and that,
Yeah.
we were still on both, in two lanes, just getting
Yeah.
closer and closer, you know. But we decided that we had to fight for it. We have kids, and we want to show that this is how it is. It doesn't mean you stay together. It just means that it's you. I saw something in her that's worth it. That's worth me. The key word for me was compromise.
Yeah.
I had to
Yeah.
compromise a lot, and so
Yeah.
did she. And
Yeah.
now seeing that, it was probably the best thing that happened, because I was a bit of an idiot. Do you know what I mean? I know that. I grew up with my mom and dad. My mom did everything for me, everything for me. And
Yeah.
now when I go back to that, I'm like, and then when you look back and think, how did you leave that? Your mom did everything. You didn't have to do anything. You know what I mean? But then when you get married, it's like, what the hell is this?
I think getting married as well, it's just a massive learning curve there,
Of
that you just like
course.
appreciation for your mum, because it's just like, wow, mum, thanks. You did everything.
So what, moving on from that, what do you think inspires you the most today?
I think a lot of things inspire me. I wouldn't say anything specific. I can plant a plant in my house and it grows, and that inspires me. It can be something as small as a plant, to people like yourself, to books, podcasts, my husband, my mum and dad still inspire me. Little bickerings that they have, and you just think, mum, dad. And then me and my husband would do it, and I'd be like, oh my God, really? But it's some form of inspiration that I get even from my parents, being in that way. In any way, in everything, I think there's inspiration in so much. It just depends on how you look at things in life, I think.
Perspective, right?
Perspective, for sure.
Cool. And is there anything that you're proud about that no one knows?
I think I'm proud of the person I've become from who I used to be. The selfish person, I would say, that I used to be. And I hope I'm not as selfish as I used to be. But I think I'm proud of the person I'm becoming, definitely. Becoming being the right word.
Yeah. And hopefully that becoming continues, because that
As
growth, I don't think we ever
I
go.
said, I'm quite proud of the fact that I am learning, and I haven't just closed a book and thought that's it in life.
You know, from inspiration to things, that privately inspire you, what makes you smile or what makes you happy?
um, my husband makes me smile. I think I've seen him grow, because I've known him for a long time, but been in a relationship for the last 7 years. But in that 7 years, how much I see him grow really makes me smile. And yeah, I think he's the focal of what will be my future life, my family life. And I think if he can keep making me smile 7 years later, we're winning. And I love that in life.
And like you said, we no one can make us happy. We choose to be happy, right? No one can make
Yeah,
us sad. We choose to be sad. No one can make us upset. We choose to be upset. So as soon as we understand that, you know if there's something you don't like, change it. And if you can't change it, change how you think about it.
change
And
how
I
you
think,
think.
and when I've read that, I read that somewhere, and I thought that resonated so deeply, but it's so true. Everything is
Yeah,
within ourselves, isn't it? Our
yeah,
control of how we think and how we speak and who we are. And I think so many people give that power away to everything around them. And as soon as you take that back, you realize that we are limitless.
yeah.
What we can do and what is possible, we
Our
choose.
mind is so powerful, and I don't think we realize that we're only tapping into a very tiny little bit of it. And little things like meditation, for example, you tap into a little further and a little further, and it is actually, it's amazing how of what a person anyone can become. I think that's, yeah, it definitely is.
And you just mentioned meditation there briefly. What habits do you think you have that serve you well, whether that be daily, weekly, monthly, something you do that makes you the person you are?
Exercise, number one, for sure. I have my set routine 3 times a week. I've been doing it for absolute years. Before I used to do it on my own, but even then, going to the gym was such a it was such a focus for me. I think that's one of my 100%, 100% one of my things that I would say is have to do, have to have that, and a few others. That is definitely eating well, all the usual stuff. But I'm learning meditation is one of my new ones. My husband's been trying to enforce meditation into me for years, and finally I'm listening.
Yeah, I've realized meeting him, he seems to be on the more spiritual path, and he's trying to pull you along onto that road, right?
Yes,
So what book? So what book?
spiritual.
Okay.
I think I've been spiritual, but I think it's more the way he sees it is very different to how way I've
Yeah.
seen it. So I
Yeah.
think that it's been amazing for me to actually learn that and learn the meditation, the mindful side of it all.
Yeah. And I think, like spirituality sometimes can get a negative press in terms of woo woo.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not real, it's not scientific, it doesn't matter. But to me, it's always been, how does it serve you? When I started on the meditation path, 10 years ago, it was, my life was a mess. It was, from the veneer point of view, it was fantastic. Everything was going for me. But from behind the mask, behind closed doors, I was in a real bad state. And that was one of the first things I turned to. There's a Buddhist center in town in Leicester, and that does a drop-in center Mondays at 7:30. And I just used to go along. Didn't actually know much about it, but I'd heard.
You should have been there. It's really good.
Yeah,
It's lovely
yeah,
inside.
exactly. And that going there and not just actually going and understanding and learning and trying to then practice myself, but even
Yeah.
being around that type of people. They attract so many warm-hearted, soul nurturing conversations that's what I needed, because at that time in my life it was all about corporate, all about businesses and about money and all these things, and they really weren't serving me, and they really got me to a point where I was struggling and I
Yeah.
needed to find a new way out. So exactly what you said there.
Aura around places like that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when you you probably walk around with this aura around you all the time now.
Something's helped me, Something has
Meditation
helped me.
meditation can do that. Like, and you should really, you want to get to that stage where you are walking around with this positive, just this glow around you all the time.
And I think that there's a truth in that, because energy is felt, right? As you get older, you feel people's energy. You don't necessarily hear the words they say or what they show you. You sense them, and so many people you talk to, so many
Yeah.
conversations you have in the work you do, and all the time. And thing is, here, I've never envied you there, because I'm like, you have to talk all the time, right? But
Miss it, and I'm really missing having conversations right
But I
now.
tell you what, you are in a position of influence, Hina. And the more you grow, and the more conversations you can have with people that you expose yourself to on a daily basis, they're the
Yeah.
things that are going to push them into a path which are good.
I think
There's
you were saying the previous question you were asking about the person you become, like what are you most proud of? And I think it's things like work conversations, parents that would come in and then tell me their daughter went home and did so and so because you told her to, because you gave that positive, you can do it vibe. And I think that has really helped me, like make me feel I have to become a better person, because actually I have a lot of people that are looking at me and possibly taking in 5%. I think that 5%, if it's a positive 5%, it needs to be. Like, I totally understand that it needs to be a positive, no matter what. Like, and people are going to be learning off the littlest things that you say.
And I think when they're sitting in your chair, their brain is in a passive state, so they're not necessarily thinking about lots of things. It's just a case of, I'm here to have my hair done, and then those conversations, I think, will resonate more, because they're not having there's no mindset going into it. I think you can then tap into that a little bit more. So again, the more you grow, the more you listen to, the more you learn, the more conversations you have, the more influence you have. You're in a position where you can change people's paths. You may not feel it, you may not see it, but it's true.
It's the realization of it, is when you a little bit of realizing that actually this is something that's actually happening in my life, made me really think I need to become a better person for myself, so other people can learn from that.
Perfect. So what book are you reading right now?
I am reading the book that you recommended me, The Code of
Okay.
the Ordinary Mind.
Yeah, yeah,
It is
yeah, yeah, yeah.
in the middle of it. It is absolutely amazing book. For
Interesting
one,
concepts, right?
very interesting. To be fair, a lot of the concepts, like the first two chapters, I think in the book, I was just like, whoa, I totally get that because like the whole bullshit rules.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I don't
The
like the
rules.
bullshit rules. I've been listening to these rules for such a long time, and this is why I think I am where I am today because from a very young age, I did question everything, and I didn't go down, the normal path that most Indian girls should have gone down.
And what would you say? Like as as you read books, also, is there any podcast you can recommend to me?
Podcast that we listened to, me, Kishan recommended me a podcast, and it was
Yeah.
about relationships.
Okay.
And the one that he sent me specifically was how to understand your man.
And
His,
what's that? What do you listen to that through? On which platform is that on?
it's just on the podcast app, I think.
Okay. Cool. So
He,
I'll yes.
he sends me links, and it comes up on the podcast, so I just listen.
I actually, do you know what? I actually want to start something like this. Where I have so many influential people and so many people that listen to good stuff, read good stuff, and like yourself, there's a lot of people, and they'll be coming on to on this podcast as well. And I'd love to have a group where we just all share, just keep sharing, just good stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
I've always believed in total immersion, and what I mean by that is when I was going through a bad time. I was like a zombie. I'd have headphones on all day, even in my own house. I'd be listening all the time. Listen. What are, the people that have sorted stuff out? What have they done? What have they done? What have they done? And it's only that total immersion where I said I have to always be listening, drown out the other noise, switch off the news, read this stuff, listen to them, have this conversation with this person. Don't talk to that person. Do you know what I mean? And it was a case of 360. And when
Yeah,
that happens, slowly, the brain, being that muscle which has to be trained and you have to teach it, slowly over so many years, that changed to me having a conversation with you today,
yeah,
and being in the position where I can have the confidence to draw upon that, to be in front of the world and actually just talk and feel, what, I'm okay with this. I may not be any good, I may not be, my words may not come out precisely like a lot of people, but I'm on a journey because I want to share and I want to bring people like you up and highlight, because I have you all guys in my life. Do you know what I mean? And this is what makes me. I am a percentage of you is in me, just like a
yeah.
percentage of everyone that I have influential in my life is part of me. So what I am and what my path is made up of this.
Yes, definitely. We're all part of little molecules that make up the one.
100%.
So,
And we can't do it alone, no matter what they
no,
say.
no, 100%.
Cool. So what, like, going on to sort of you as a person again, what would you say is your superpower?
My superpower is my positivity, for sure. I think I ooze positivity wherever I go. So I think that is definitely my superpower. And I've been told
There
it's
you go.
it's my superpower.
And so, and also we're talking about skills, being an entrepreneur, being running your own business, you know we when we sat on this path, we didn't realize we'd have to do everything and keep doing everything and think, and our brain will never switch off the whole time we're in this path, right?
Yeah.
So what skills do you still need to gain, grow, and master to evolve into the person you'd like to be?
One of the biggest skills is to learn to switch off. And I think I'm definitely getting to that stage where the lockdown has done absolute wonders to switch off. And I've realized actually I don't need to be working all the days and hours. I am sorry, clients, but I am going to cut it down. It's not as important as what it felt like it used to be. And I already knew this when I decided to work from home in the first place, that I wanted to try and have this balanced life. But I do feel like I'm still working the same amount of hours. Firstly, because I think I love my job. Secondly, I am a bit of a workaholic. I don't want to just sit, I don't like sitting around. The house has been cleaned like a million times on lockdown. The smells been cleaned so many times and no one's using it. But I think it's overall.
That's switching off, yeah. Because I think that is definitely a skill that you know, I resonate with you wholly because I find it so hard to just stop, you know, where I say, actually, I've got 5 things to do and I'm just going to push through. Now I'm teaching, my kids are teaching me as well. Do you know what? Just get 2 done and it's fine. 3 will just come when they come, you know? And it's that. And that I've had to train myself. And it's weird because I meet people that are the opposite, that that find it hard to do stuff. And I'm like, I find it hard not to do stuff. So
But
I learn off both.
definitely learning to kind of just slow down and take time out for yourself is so much more important.
And what's the, you know, this is a little bit of a bigger question. What do you think, what's the thing that's holding you back from your greatness?
I don't think there is anything holding me back. I can't specifically say, oh, I think this is holding me back. But I do have a fear in me. Like, for example, this kind of conversation, I find it quite daunting.
Okay.
So I think the only thing that really holds me back is this fear within me that just being able to, you know, like to talk to people with a camera in front of you, and or to be in a room full of people and you're the spokesperson. Like, I'd love to be able to share my thoughts with so many more people, which is great with my job because it's one-on-one, which is I'm absolutely comfortable and fine with. But I would like to expand that in the years to come. And I think that's the only thing in my heart I feel like it holds me back, that I don't have the confidence to speak out in front of people.
And it's funny you say that, Hina, because I always, up to this moment, I've always said I am great one-on-one. I'm not good in groups. Yeah. There's a little thing there's a little kid in me that I knew from a young age. I've always been a little bit of an introvert, right? I feel comfortable in my own skin and I feel comfortable with small groups, but in bigger groups I never did. So I said, I have to do this because it's uncomfortable, because I know that it will help me and help others so much if I just do this and just put myself on the line, you know?
Yeah, when I need to do this, I was literally like terrified inside, but I was like, don't care, definitely doing it, 100%. Got the confidence to do it, but really, I'm like literally sweating here.
And what we'll do after this lockdown comes down, if you agree with this, I've never been one into networking. Okay,
Yeah.
you know, going out to environments where they set things up, but I've had a couple of people contact me that want me to come out to some networking events, and it's not sort of networking in the traditional sense of networking where you sort of like promote yourself, because I think that's a bit selfish. It's more just being around like-minded people that are on a similar path that we can help each other grow. Do you know what I mean? So if you're up for that, we'll go along.
Talk in front of the whole crowd, I'm fine.
No, you just have to get up on stage and talk in front of 100 people. It's fine. No, nothing big.
To be fair, I would throw myself into that. Just throw a whole lot of you.
But we'll do that. We'll do that. If I come across that after lockdown, I'll invite you. We'll go along and let's see. Let's break our comfort zones together, man. Sure, you'll be up for that, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Is there any, do you know, like anything you've heard in terms of quotes or anything that resonates with you that stays in your mind for a long time? What kind of things do you, what sum things up for you and make life easier for you?
What quote that I've heard about 10, 15 years ago that I've always, like, it's always been there at the back of my head is to know what you're worth. There's differences between what you think you deserve and what you actually deserve. So you yourself, to know what you actually are worth, I think is one of the biggest quotes that I always walk around with. Because I always feel like if somebody is not being that great towards me, do I deserve that? No, I don't. I will walk away. And I think it's that knowing I'm not worth that crap to be feeling like this rubbish feeling. So whether it's in my relationship now, if I feel I'm not upset with something, but there's nothing that I can do about it at this moment, I'm just going to walk away from it, because as you walk away from it, you will realize actually it wasn't good for you. You weren't worth being talked to like that, or being shouted at, or being judged in that way. And I think that's one of my biggest, that always stays with me, is knowing what you're worth.
And then it's living by that through everything you do, right? So like you said, within your business, you give away your time. What's your time worth? What do you feel that? In the people you surround yourself with, I know you have a similar mindset to me in terms of I've been, it's funny, I don't know if you feel the similar way. I've been in this lockdown and wondered when I had time to work. So I've been in a list. I've been listening to so much, been spending time with kids, doing so many things that I enjoy. I've been doing, working on this, working on new things, spending time playing PlayStation with Kaylin, doing my piano, cooking with Bersha, going for walks with my kids, going to my mom and dad at their house. Do you know what I mean? And then I get to the
Yeah.
end there, I'm like, when did I get time to work? Do you know what I mean? Like it's such a nice thing to do.
Which is still working. I do feel like I'm like looking at the time. I'm like, damn, he's gonna be home in like literally like 2 hours. Even now, I'm like, whoa, he's gonna be home in like 2.5. What have I done all day? The thing is, I've done some amazing, but you just don't realize that when you're actually doing things that you really enjoy, the time just disappears.
Yeah. And if someone else watched you, they'd be like, wow, you do a lot. And you're like,
Loads.
this is normal. This is what I
Like,
do.
I hardly switch on the TV before Kish gets home.
Never. Yeah.
And it's like, and he's like, oh, what did you watch today? Oh, I didn't watch anything. What do you mean? What you've been doing all day? So I've been doing this audio, and you know, done this and done this. And he's like, wow. And I'm like, very much in the evening, I'm like, you don't need to switch the TV on. Let's talk now.
Yeah. You do know
Because I'm
what?
like, I haven't spoken to anybody all day.
It's like
What do you-
we have like a Friday night movie where we all sit down and we'll all watch a movie. We'll pick the kids will watch pick, and then Saturday night, like me and Vesh will sit down and watch something, and that's literally it. It's like my TV. So I'm in the sort of technology business. My kids are always saying like, "Dad, when we're getting a new TV?" I'm like, they're like, "We've had the TV so long, it still works." I said, "Listen, it still works, and do you know why it still works? Because we never switch it on. That's why it still works."
You don't
That's
really
it.
do.
And
You
that's
guys are
why. Yeah, well, that's why I'm, doing this, because this is a space that I feel so much joy in, these conversations, being around this kind of mindset and just sharing my thoughts in the world. And it feels like I'm outgrowing certain parts of that business. So I'm now filling it time with this business,
yeah,
and this I don't see as business. I just see as this my calling. I just see as the path I need to walk and a path I need to tread. And let's see, let's see how many times I fall down, pick myself up, because I know I'm good at that.
yeah.
So do like sort of going back to sort of some maybe some pain or some trauma or things that have happened to you that have made you the person you are? Is there anything that you could share that maybe help someone else that's listening?
I can't really think of anything traumatic that has been that painful that I would say that has changed me so much so that has made me the person I am. But in everybody's life, we go through pain, we go through ups and downs, peaks and troughs of everything. And I think every peak and trough I've ever had in life, when I'm at the bottom, I always kind of stand back and have a look. Why? What's happened? And why has it happened? 99% of the time is because of something that I need to change in myself. And I think that is probably, it's not trauma and it's not pain, but it is a pain where you actually learn to grow. And I think that's kind of the only thing I can say, apart from like losing loved ones, but nothing that I would say resonates with me to say this specific thing changed my life. But I think a lot of things that have happened over the years.
And I think the difficulty is that the importance of being surrounded by people that will be truthful with you is that when you are going through those mental anguishes, when you are at lows and when you are at points where sometimes you don't see it yourself, sometimes it takes someone to say to you, this is not you. Do you know what I mean? This I don't recognize you at the moment. And sometimes it takes that conversation of someone being strong enough to actually, sometimes it may even break the relationship. Do you know what I mean? But it needs to happen, it needs to be said, and hopefully over time you see, actually, you know what, that was probably someone being a good friend, even though I didn't want to hear it at the time.
Yeah, definitely.
So cool. Okay, so going forward now, how do you see, you mentioned kids earlier, that's a path you'd like to tread, whether that happens or not, we'll let the universe decide on that one. But one thing, when we've had conversations in the past at your salon, you've always said that you want to be a parent that lives with truth. Whether if you guys like traveling, and if that means you put your kids in a backpack and take them with you, you'll still be traveling, and I think, like I said, by having kids again at an old age, you recognize who you are as a person and what you want to share. Because another thing I read was that if you want to change the world or you want to change the future world, spend more time with your kids and teach them, because they are the future generation, right?
Yeah.
You know, all this thing about climate change, all this thing about, you know, the environment, all this thing about, you know, like natural resources and things like that.
Yeah.
If we teach them to be more mindful about how they spend their time and who their conversations they have. An interesting thing I've found is that with younger people, the mindset, I'm talking not talking about so young, but I'm talking about like 20-year-olds and stuff. It's interesting that their mindset seems to be changing as well. What things were important to a capitalist society before, in terms of like the big, you know, like the big houses, the big cars, getting married, all those things, seems to be changing in their mind. They seem to be wanting to make a difference and make a change with their life, and not be, you know, you know, a lot of times I've coached younger people, they've said, I don't actually want to buy a house. I don't mind renting all my life, because
Yeah.
I'd rather be able to move places. Or
Yeah.
why have a car when I can have Uber? Do you know what I mean? And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's changing. That I find that really interesting, you know.
Yeah, I find that really interesting. That's actually really two really good points actually of not renting, because you can actually move around, and yeah, what's the stress of having a car when you can Uber pretty much everywhere now?
And the interesting thing is, we came with nothing and we go with nothing, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And I
One of
think
my
we've gone.
one of my biggest things I think in the last 2 years that I live by is we came alone and we leave alone.
Yes.
Everybody sticks in your life.
And I think the only thing we take is the things that shape our soul. So our experiences, our love, our energies that surround us, that make us the inside person, not the house, not the car, not the things, but the people we become. So we come through this life as a soul, with this body being the vehicle. That's why we look after this body, to make sure we can have a long life. But that soul that we shape, that then moves on to its next journey, if that's what you believe, that will be a stronger body.
Yeah, and that soul leaves, like you're going to leave your imprint. That soul is going to leave its imprint on the future generations, and I think that's really important to have the most amazing soul and let it grow, and then it just become, you know, by the time you get to 106, is it 106?
106, yes. That's yeah. 100. You see, I'm glad. I'm glad. So, I was gonna bring my kids in to tell them, none. What time? How long did that? And it's funny because Kaylin says to me, "Daddy, I'm gonna be really old when you're old." So, yeah, we're gonna be old together. Don't worry. But we're gonna be. It's like another thing I've changed, Hina, is
The number.
yeah. Well, I said one thing I've changed now is, when someone asks my age, I'm not 44 years old. I'm 44 years strong, because that's
Yeah.
how I feel, you know. And when, you know, when you say 44, I remember, you must remember, you know, rewind 20, 25 years ago, when you met a kaka that was 44 years old. He was a kaka, like the guy could barely move.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
And now we're reaching that. I'm like, I'm 6 years off 50. Tell
Do
me
you
that.
think that younger generation look at you thinking, blimey, that's hopefully we've changed the whole the look of the kaki look.
The genetics, right? The genetics is changing, right? And I think that's helping with, you know, the amount of information we have about health, about nutrition, about, you know, about everything, the way we can live a strong, healthy life. You know, 100 is possible for a lot of people. Yeah,
We're really actually we live in the day and age that we live in,
we do.
because there's so much stuff at our fingertips.
Yeah,
And
and it's our choice.
yeah, it's up to us. It's our choice to whether you take it forward or you just stay in the same slump life that you want to stay in.
So now we're sort of now I want you to fast forward to the end of your days. All right. So you're now 150 years old, 160 years old, whatever age you want to be. Right. You've lived a long, strong life. You've done everything you want to do, and everything has come down to this moment. You're sitting, you're lying down, and don't have the energy to speak, but you have the energy to pick up a pen and write 3 words, and that's all you've got to leave with you. No one remembers anything about what you've done. They'll just remember the 3 words that you leave. These 3 words, I want you to share with us, what, you know, things that have helped you. Maybe you want others to practice, which will sort of help them in their lives.
Okay, so my first word would be to be honest. Honest to yourself, honest to the people around you. It explains itself, you know.
Yeah.
I don't need to really elaborate on honesty. My second word is gratefulness. Just to be very grateful for whether it is one bean on your plate or 10 beans on your plate. Just be grateful for everything. I think it's one of my biggest, like, I live by gratefulness. I love it. And the last one is positivity. is you are able to do absolutely anything that you want in life. Just be positive, and you'll be able to do
And what you give out is what you attract, right?
it. Exactly.
Perfect. So now this podcast is called Bigger Than the Hustle, and right now you are bigger than the world. So what's happened here is I've got hold of a mic. That mic is now plugged into 7.58 billion people in the world. They can all hear you. They can all understand you. There's no language barrier. There's nothing to stop them understanding what you're saying. Now, in the next 30 seconds is all I can afford you. What message would you like to share with the world?
I might not need 30 seconds. Okay, so first one is be grateful. Surround yourself with people who you love and that appreciate you. Be your true self. Love everything that you do in life. You only have one chance, so make sure, most importantly, you make it count.
Perfect.
I don't know
And
if that was.
there you go. Perfect. It saves me some airtime. It cost me a lot of money to do that. You see, so. I'll get a refund on that last bit, right? We reached end. So first of all, I want to acknowledge you, Hina. Thank you so much for coming on. I know it was a bit of a last minute change, and I know you were super nervous from our conversation before, and I sent messages, but you came across so well. Your honesty and integrity in you as a person, I've seen you grown from that young girl to the lady you are today. And I acknowledge the way you turn up in the world, the way you're willing to share, the way you just live your life, because you live with honesty, you live with integrity, and you live with passion, and that self-determined focus. You are such inspiration for so many young girls out there that want to live a life which is true to them. So you carry on your path, because I know you resonate with so many people, and I know you have an authority now where you need to share your your journey, your path, and your words with all those people that come close to you.
Thank you so much.
No problem at all. So guys, that's the end of this episode. I'm going to hook up some show notes and Hina's details if you do need a haircut. So Hina, I will be calling you, right, when it's all done. And anything else, if you just want to chat, I'm sure she'll just be happy to have a conversation with you. So guys, see you next week with another great guest, and hope you've enjoyed. Thank you.
It wasn't about the capability of whether I could do it, it was more about how, and I needed to understand the how. Though I realised, to be fair, nobody can tell me the how, and unfortunately there's nobody that can tell me the how. The only way I can do it is find out for myself.